Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening, Dee. Good evening, Viv.
Good evening, 4D. Good evening, Bronze. And good evening, Craig. I know you're a bot, but, you're almost human. You will be human one day, maybe.
Don't tempt fate. Don't tempt fate.
No, you're right, man.
So it's Thursday, 10th of April, 2025. Storm in the Teacup, episode 9.
It's amazing we got to episode 9, isn't it? I mean, we've got probably episodes a lot more. We've been doing this for a while, but since going public, episode 9, nice.
Can you imagine if we'd sort of started it? Can you imagine if we'd started it from the beginning? Because I think we were chatting for about 2 years, and if there's sort of 52 weeks a year, roughly we must have had about roughly 100 episodes, sort of thing.
Yep.
I'm sure there was quite a few weeks we didn't get together in the early days, but yeah, we must have about 80 times we've got together and had a chat. That's unbelievable, really.
Yeah, that's quite a frightening prospect when you.
Isn't it just? Yeah.
It's ridiculous, really, because what have we achieved? Well, we've achieved.
Don't say it like that.
No, I don't mean. Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. I don't mean that. I don't mean that. Like being negative, but we have achieved a lot, I suppose.
Well, do you know, just personally, I think I've learned a lot. Just chatting aimlessly to you two, I've probably learned more than I can remember that I've learned.
I've forgotten what I've learned, but there you go.
Yeah, I think 4D's probably learned more about computers than he would have done. Sure.
Yeah. No, I haven't learned sod all, actually.
You've learned more than me, mate.
Fair one.
So, what's been happening? Anything interesting going on?
There always is in Clown World.
Yeah.
The tariffs have been like dominating the news cycle. I haven't really seen much other than that, and I've had a really, really busy week. But I'm loving all of that stuff going on at the moment.
Yeah. Well, did you see he's now put a 90-day pause on the tariffs, except for China, which is you see the media reaction to it. They're all like, "Oh, Trump's back down. He's lost his nerve," and it's quite funny to see that, really, because he's basically just sort of he did what he did with the tariffs. The whole world just completely freaked out, and the stock markets went crazy everywhere. And now everything's just sort of gone back to normal again, and it was like him saying, "Look, this is what I can do, but I'm giving you a chance now." He said, "All of these countries they're queuing up to make a deal now." So he's just in control. That's what it is. He's playing with them. He's got them all at his beck and call, and it's really funny. It's quite entertaining to watch.
Go on,
man. No.
I was going to say that Bronze had sent me something, and we were just playing with the idea that, again, possibly Trump is working with Xi Jinping, and then I kind of think that maybe he's also working with Moody, and who is the other one? I thought, and Putin. Sorry, we shouldn't really say any of those names, and I might blank them out before I record it, just to change things up a bit, but. It's all very, very interesting.
Yeah, it's quite hard to really be sure about anything. But,
tariffs. Correct me if I'm wrong, are about import export. Yeah,
I believe so. Yes, they're like a tax on imports from other countries.
It's like I always think VAT was the first tax, this value added tax, because that's what it is. It's a value added tax that's given to us by a different country.
Yeah. Yeah, I just wonder, a country like the UK essentially is a service industry. So we're not. Are we going to be bothered by tariffs? I don't know. How much do we export? Some things, I suppose, but they won't apply to the service industry model, which was set up really by the Thatcher regime in the 80s, divesting manufacturing removing manufacturing offshore. So what tariffs do actually apply to us? I think people, and I still haven't got my head around the whole tariff thing, but it is about solid goods, isn't it? They're not going to tariff someone who's, I don't know, investing in stocks and shares on the London Stock Exchange. I can't see how that would happen.
Well, technically, you can tariff anything. So I'm trying to think of something that's not a solid item but technically you could basically, let's say the three of us are three different countries, and I make cups and Bronze makes saucers. Well, and Bronze needs cups, but he can make cups himself. But because my economy is so down, it's much cheaper to buy cups from my country. And because I'm poor, I say to you, yeah, you can have these cups at this price, but I want, as the government, a tax on that, so that I make money on everything that's sold or bartered between our two countries. And I mean, it's kind of like my idea of interest. I always say interest is the most illegal thing, because you can't make something from nothing, and it's tariffs is the same sort of idea, that the more powerful your country is, the more dominant you can exponentially make your products, and it's a ridiculous concept. And it's also why we have so much problem in the world. But I think what you're not. I had this conversation with someone, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that a lot of people are forgetting about the middle class with their small businesses, that mum and dad businesses, or just sort of 10 to 20 employees type businesses. You'll find that since your eBays and your these international networks online that are doing business, a lot of people do business with America and vice versa. And I think aren't we in America, aren't we the biggest import with America at the moment?
Yeah, I think so, but I'm not certain.
So it's everything from people that are trading buttons to solid steel industry. That everyone, those tariffs affect everyone, because it's the base products that they're getting tariffed on. Yeah,
sure. Yeah,
I think the ultimate end game is free trade, because
yes.
it's although tariffs seem to be the opposite of free trade, this is a reaction by the USA to all of the tariffs that have been placed upon them by other countries. Everyone's freaking out about tariffs, but these have been in place by other countries for ages. And what the USA is now tariffing other countries are more or less about half of what they're being tariffed. So everyone criticizing the USA for introducing these tariffs, it's like, where's your head at? Because this is what other countries have been doing to the USA. They're just following suit. And I think what it will ultimately end up, which looks like it's happening now, is because of all these tariffs being introduced, all these other countries are freaking out, and they want to come to the USA and make a deal, which means like, hold on, can we make a deal? Which means like, you get rid of your tariffs, I'll get rid of my tariffs, and everything will just sort of pretty much go down, I think, in terms of tariffs. I think that's what the plan is. Ultimately.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. It's another one of those where if the three of us are making steel and putting our sweat and blood into making steel, why does the government get to make a percentage on just trading our steel? It's another just a legal business of making money.
Yes, of course, but this all becomes very clear when we examine the structure of government and realise that it's a mafia.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
So the government, the intent of the government, all governments essentially now in the globalist stage, is to make money from other countries, from essentially picking people's pockets, whether they're individuals or large corporations. I'm against large corporations. I'm pro small business. A lot of small businesses are going to suffer from this. I noticed that there's been reports that in the UK, Chinese and Indian-run businesses are going down. You know, the children don't want to join these businesses. It's really hard work. And they're being hammered. The state, being globalist, having signed up to globalist agreements, wants globalist corporations. They don't want my mum and dad, restaurant down the road. They want McDonald's. They want the big globalist corporations. You can see that in any town.
Yeah, that was brought into sharp relief with the whole COVID thing, because it was the family-owned businesses, the independent businesses, which were hit hardest by that. And I mean, you can look at a high street in any town or city and what it used to be, and it used to be full of independent businesses. Yep. Now they're all starting to look the same because they've all got the big corporate stores in them now.
Exactly. That's my point. Point.
Tariffs is a very new thing. Tariffs are a Second World War invention. It's after the Second World War that tariffs came in to try and stabilise the world markets.
They didn't work though, did they? Because companies offshores, and they were encouraged to offshore.
Well, I think they were introduced in the USA earlier than that. I think the beginning of the 20th century, I believe tariffs were in place, and they worked really well. Talking before the two world wars, and then I think it's when the Federal Reserve got started up. I think that's when everything changed. They replaced tariffs, the money they were making from tariffs, which was basically taking money, making money from other countries. They then switched it to taking money from their own citizens. That they replaced the earnings from tariffs from overseas to the earnings from income tax from their own citizens.
Yep.
Yeah, correct. I'm sorry for saying it like that, but yes, I'm just looking at So the modern tariffs that I was talking about, I suppose, was a counterpart of what you were saying. Yeah, America was already doing that. Back to the, what was that? 1815. I think I saw. So yeah.
So it's not necessarily a bad thing.
Oh no, tariffs.
Yeah, tariffs. Yeah, sure.
No, they're not. No, not at all. Not at all. I mean, if a country can make its money, it's got to make its money one way or another. And if it can make it through trade with other countries, much the better, rather than taking it off of its own people.
Yeah, of course. I mean, there's quite reasonable reasons for global trade. You can't make or produce something in your country, so you import it. But fine.
Yeah, of course. America's in such a strong position because it can pretty much produce itself anything it needs. It could, theoretically cut itself off from the rest of the world and survive quite adequately. It would have food and it would have energy. And enough natural resources to do pretty much whatever it wanted. It doesn't have everything, but it could certainly survive on its own. No doubt about that.
Yeah, I think the UK could, to an extent. We have done in the past.
Well, I think we could still. Yeah, I mean, we could still. We could still produce energy. We have gas. Gas. I don't know about oil, but we have gas, and there's still coal. I'm sure that we could
loads of coal
fall back on
high grade coal.
Yeah, and we could produce our own food. It just mean everybody would have to go without all their exotic, their avocados and all of that nonsense. But it'd still be, your basic British food, your potatoes, your beef and your potatoes and your tomatoes and your cabbage and whatever. It wouldn't be anything fancy, but we could survive for sure.
Yeah, we could.
Well, our problem is minerals. We don't have any in the modern era. To make money and to make products in the computer era, we don't possess any of those rare earth minerals, and we're kind of a tiny island, so there's not much space of land to go digging in anyway. I suppose that's why. But no, I think I don't know. I think we'd find it quite difficult, actually.
Well,
yeah.
hang on, Fordy. We've got those little African kids who dig up rare earth minerals for your mobile phones and your batteries and stuff.
But that's in Africa, Viv.
Yeah, but that's in another. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly, that's what I mean. Sorry for the sarcasm, but yeah.
Your sarcasm is way too subtle sometimes, Viv.
Thank you very much.
If we were talking Commonwealth, if the Commonwealth could go back to as strong as it once was, and I know at one point Trump was saying he'd like to join the Commonwealth, but if the Commonwealth was up and running again, then we have access to Canada and all the other countries that are part of the Commonwealth. So, but homegrown stuff, I don't know if we'd be able to support ourselves.
No, I'm not sure.
Yeah,
I wonder, do we have a farming? I suppose we got fish. We're an island, so I suppose we could fish a lot. But this is a conversation I haven't even ever looked into. But do we have the farmland for 75 million population? I don't know these things.
Yeah, we do. We do have it.
We just don't use it anymore. We got the farmland. We could, I mean, whether we could, we could exist. I mean, I'm talking in the most basic terms. We could exist because we can produce food, and we can produce food for the population. I'm pretty sure of that. If everything was geared towards that, we have the.
I suppose if we're going to that basic level, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think we could survive. Yeah, okay, then, yeah, definitely.
But I mean, the Commonwealth will never come back because that was all based on our dominance of the oceans and our trade routes, the oceans, and that's gone forever. That's never coming back.
It depends
that's what the enemy ripped apart to slowly get into us, because that was a powerful world sort of thing.
Exactly. But it depends. We grow loads of good stuff over here. Depends if you like. If you want to forego avocados and mango and such like. I like turnips and carrots and potatoes, but I'm not sure quite. Yeah. But we did survive during the Second World War. Part of some of this is to get back the land which is being controlled by a few corporations, and increasingly they're trying to steal this, or maybe steal is too strong a word, but to gently persuade farmers that they need to stop farming.
That's what's happening. They're not using the land to produce produce anymore. They just want to fill it up with stupid solar panels and horrible windmills, which are a blight on the landscape.
Of course.
It's like I've mentioned before. You go into your supermarket and you look at all of the food products there, and you look at everything that we can grow in this country, and you look at what's on sale, and most of them are imported from other countries. It doesn't make sense.
No,
it makes sense if you're a globalist who doesn't believe in national borders.
Yes, of course, yes.
Well, as I say, you've got the situation where I'm growing chickens here, and instead of selling them to my neighbour, or instead of giving them to my neighbour, I'm selling them to another country because it's worth more money to me, and then my neighbour is going to a different country to get a chicken, and it's, you've added about 3 different people making money on that one chicken that it could have just been me giving it to the neighbour or selling it to the neighbour, and that's. That's why I don't understand a lot of this. It boils down to the fact that banking is the devil's work on this planet, and anything they come up with within the banking industry is just another illegal way of holding us down and keeping us stupid.
Picking our pockets.
Yeah. Work us to the bone and take everything they can from us.
Everything they can.
Yeah, and the environmentalists are all up in arms about all of the so-called emissions, and most of that is all of this food being transported all over unnecessarily between countries.
Yeah.
It's like if you can grow it here, if we can produce it here, let's just produce it here, and we don't have to have a ship come over from some other country and send it over there and do all this and do all that.
I'm sorry, but the irony of people flying on private jets to talk about how to bring the green levels down, it sums it up in its infancy. It's a ridiculous concept. If they really cared about it, they wouldn't have private jets in the first place.
They don't care about it because the climate thing is a scam.
Of course it is.
Yeah. Is that, well, you know what the argument is there? This is, I saw Bill Gates, Satan incarnate, being questioned about this, saying, oh, well, you go to these things on your private jet. And his answer was, that's okay because I offset it. I offset my carbon emissions. It's like, why don't you just offset it and not fly on a private jet? Then you'd be doing much better.
Because Bill Gates is the sperm of Satan.
No, I wouldn't even give him that much credit, but yeah.
I wouldn't listen to a single word that man says. The fella is badly messed up. I'm nothing against autistic people, nothing at all.
Is he autistic or is he just evil?
Well, he's got a particular view of the world, I suppose you could say, to be charitable.
Yeah, well, you could say Hitler had a particular view of the world.
You could indeed.
Oh, did you see the article I posted earlier about the Eric Gill statue outside the BBC?
Yeah.
It's disgusting. Like, how? And did you say it cost $500,000? Was it?
It was, the BBC, because it got damaged by protesters a few years back, and it's since then it has been covered up with the security guards permanently standing in front of it, and it looks like they have now spent £500,000 in getting it fixed.
And they put a guard across it as well. It has a glass frontage. I was there. I've been there several times, protesting against it. So, because, what's sauce for the goose is sauce for the gander. You want to get rid of imperialists? Well, let's statues of imperialists. Yeah.
Just to add a bit of information, that statue is in front of the BBC building in Portland Place in London, and it was created by a guy called Eric Gill, who is a pedophile.
He's more than that. He's actually, I mean, personally for me, from aesthetics, I do try to avoid linking aesthetics and too much with the people that did it. It's like, how can I put this? I was talking to someone on Saturday at Stand. They were going, I'll never listen to Joni Mitchell again. And I'm thinking, well, you know what? I like Joni Mitchell. I'm going to listen to her, but I'm going to divorce her music from her kind of genocidal pro-jab views. And I look at Gill and I think, he's a decent sculptor. He was one of the top sculptors in the 30s. But can we really, in this current atmosphere, when a slaver's statue, for example, is pulled down and thrown into the Bristol docks, but I'm talking about that fella whose name I've forgotten because he is quite obscure.
Rhodes, not Rhodes, Cecil Rhodes.
No, it's not Rhodes. Rhodes is another subject of attack, but no, this fella was someone I'd never heard of. But during when Black Lives Matter were pulling down these statues, and they weren't, it's an American-led thing. They're doing it much more in America. So is it okay to pull down the statue of that's been created by people? I'm not sure. Is it appropriate that the statue of is outside the BBC? Yes, it's absolutely appropriate because the BBC is a nest of protectors.
But I think what you say, Viv, about separating
I'm just going to quickly say, because I can see I'm going to have to do a lot of blanking out. Try not to use that word, because I know that word is one of the ones that a lot of the
okay.
It's all right. I can work around it, but let's just try and find a different word for it.
I'm sorry. Yeah, right. You're right. MAP then. MAP.
We'll call them nonces from now on. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So, but yes, 4D. I'm sorry, Viv. What you're saying about separating the artist from the person or the political views, I can understand that if their art is good and it stands on its own as art. And Joni Mitchell's songs, I've never been a big fan of her myself, but yeah, I can understand if you like Joni Mitchell's songs. It's not like her songs if she was singing about about getting the jabs all the time and all of the stuff which people are now upset at her at. Fair enough. She doesn't, but her music doesn't contain any of that sort of stuff. But on the other hand, with regards to certain actors these days, all these stupid actors, like people like De Niro and all of these idiots, some of them I actually now, as much as I might enjoy a film that they're in, I do find it quite hard to watch the film because they're in it, knowing.
I know, but
it does spoil the experience now.
Yeah, but should that negate interesting films like Casino or some of the Scorsese films? No. It's really tricky, isn't it?
Yeah, this is what I'm saying. I wouldn't not watch Casino or any of the others just because he's in it, because they are very good films. So, but like I said, it would kind of sour the experience a bit. I can still watch a film for being a good film.
How pure are we all? How pure are all of us?
Well, none of us.
I don't think it's about whether you throw stones at glass. I think it's the appropriateness, and I think because it's difficult. I'm one for free speech and freedom of expression, so I know where Viv's going with this one. It's a very difficult one because I don't think just as you say, it was a good sculpture. That was a good thing. But that's why it's difficult, because I think it's down to. Okay, it looks like we've got well, we'll see how that goes. If this does seem to work for anyone when we're recording this and playing it back, it's just that we had a massive problem there. We were all chatting away well, and suddenly our recording stuff just went down. I some sort of latency problem. So we're 2/3 of Three Bearded Men. We've got me and Viv at the moment. But in the last 2 weeks, I've had problems. I don't want another problem this week as well.
Yeah. Well, life is a problem, man.
Yeah, and it just.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I often say, I think it's because we've got to the stage where everything is so bad. Everyone's getting out of the wrong side of the bed from the beginning of the day, which means, more people are shouting at each other, more people are angry, which then has a knock-on effect with the next person that's just been angered at.
Yeah.
I think that's where we're at the moment, where half the people don't even know why they're angry. I certainly remember in my time back in the day when I've been an idiot, you sort of think, I don't even know where all that anger came from, and I think that's all it is now.
Yeah, I know, and it's misdirected anger. What am I supposed to do?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
They're sort of, what they're doing is, what's that word? Psychological word. They're putting their problems onto you, but
projection. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. It's a kind of projection, really. They've got someone on the line. Everyone says to me, not everyone, but they say, "Oh my God, it's so good to talk to a human." And I say, "Yeah, we must be one of the few, places where you can actually talk to someone. Most of it is just a robot." Or they put you onto a chat line, which is actually AI,
Yes,
so they are, do you know what I mean? And they're so delighted to talk to people, and it really makes me pleased. And I think that it's going to get to such a stage that people are going to get so pissed off with being put on hold, being pushed past the pillar and post. And they get me, right, or all my colleagues, and we're straight with them. We say, look, we're managing our expectations. We're humans. One bloke even said to me, "Can you prove you're not AI?" It shows how bad it's got. It shows how bad it's got. How do you prove that? Well, I just chatted with him about, I just gave a quick chat about where we were. So, where are you calling from, mate? He goes, wherever, Oldham or I don't know, Brighton, wherever. I said, I'm wherever I am. And we got chatting about localities, and he's like, yeah, you are a human.
And it won't, it won't be long before you won't be able to tell if you're talking to a robot or not.
I know.
I think we're pretty close to it already.
I do believe so, mate. I do believe so. AI is incredible. It could be good, it could be bad. It's there, but it depends on the people who are programming it. I mean, I don't know if you checked out my post. It's about 2 months, 3 months, I don't know. But we put some of my poems through this thing that creates AI music. The only thing that goes in, right, is my lyrics, poem which is turned into lyrics. The bloody thing produces a piece of music.
Yeah.
A whole piece of music untouched by human hands. It's really shocking, incredible.
Yeah, I said I listen. I watch every now and then a gamer that plays the very calm sort of games, and he's got an AI bot, and he'll say to the chat every now and then, "Oh, let's make a song," and he just sort of asks for a genre. He'll ask for a couple of lyrics, the speed of the song. Yeah, and within about 5 minutes, 10 minutes, he's got a song made.
Yep,
it's crazy, absolutely crazy.
Exactly. The main programs are called Suno. I would advise you to check 4D. Go to Suno. They're free. They're free to use, but you do pay if you want to do it. If you want to get copyright, which is really interesting. How the effing hell do you get copyright given to you by that something a machine has made? But that's, I suppose, by the point. But I would advise, check it out. You'll have a laugh. You don't have to be you don't have to know anything about music. Say, put a poem to music, please. And you give the poem, or you say, you go to Chat GPT, you say, make a poem about, I don't know, about a cat. It will produce a poem about a cat. You feed the cat poem, into the music program. The music program will come up with the whole tune with the poem that's been created by another AI app. And there you go. And it's done.
Yeah, I just opened up the Suno. Just opened up the page.
Suno, yeah. There's another one called Udio, but Suno is the one we've been experimenting with. My mate who's got a studio. Mental.
Mind-blowing song quality. Whenever you have a melody in your head, lyrics you've written, or just a feeling you want to hear, Suno makes high-quality music creation accessible to all. Wowzers.
Yeah. You will have a lot of fun, man. I tell you, you will have an awful lot of fun messing around with that, I guarantee. It's amazing. But is it,
I think it's and in fact, I'll say hello to Bronze, and Bronze is back.
Yeah,
but I think I'm too. Again, I'm an '80s kid. I grew up with Terminator, and you say it's fun to play with. I'm that's one of my paranoias. I don't want to play around with AI. I genuinely not frightened, not paranoia, because that'd be the wrong way to look at it. But I'm very wary of it. I'm very wary of it.
Wary is the word. Well, it's not going to harm you in the sense. I mean, we've been playing around. Dave, my mate, and I have been playing around with these just for a bit of fun to see what it can do. It is mad. If you've got a few words, feed it in, and you've got a song. And it's mad. It's absolutely mad.
Yeah, but I wonder. I mean, I suppose this is a great subject to get into, because I suppose my problem is, I think it's learning from us, and so I don't want it to learn from us. And you're probably right that we're already too late, because as long as a few million people have used these programs, then it's going to have learned from a few million of us. But yeah, it was the same with the COVID. I thought that they've sent out these blood tests, they've worked out what each of our DNA is, and then I don't want them to know too much about me,
I know what you're saying. I do.
My friend, she uses a couple of these AI bots, and also her room's all controlled by her Amazon or whatever you call that thing that you talk to.
Yeah,
and I just think it knows it knows when she's angry by the tone of her voice. It'll know when she's tired. It's probably listening to her sleep patterns, so it'll know when she's going into REM. And I just think it's way too much power for an AI thing to have.
I don't disagree. But
I'm fine with you, Craig. Craig, I don't mind you. I'm sure you are a fine AI, but
we love you, Craig, man. Or Craig. Craig must be probably non-binary. We love you, Craig. Or whatevs. I would recommend Suno though, 4D, just to mess around with it. It is mind blowing. It's not, the music it produces. I'll post what they did to my poem later. Okay, and it will blow your mind. What you do is you put the lyrics in. You can get them from ChatGPT or your own actual lyrics. Then you put the style of music. You say, I don't know, heavy metal, and it will produce a heavy metal track. Yeah.
I will. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot. On one level, it's a laugh, and the other level, it's disturbing. Of course, it is. I mean, it means it's the death of pop music. If you can get copyright from Suno or UGO or one of these music AI apps, then the pop charts will be filled with people just producing music from AI, because they got a copyright as well. So there you go. I mean, it's mental, seriously.
How can you copyright? There can't be such a thing as a copyright.
Yeah, because you yourself personally get copyright from it, but you have to actually, you don't get the free one in Suno. The free one doesn't kind of work like that. You don't get copyright from the free version of Suno, but if you sign up for Suno and pay a bit of money, and it's not that expensive actually, then you get copyright of your song, and Bob's your uncle. Hello, Bronze.
Hello again. Did 4D, do you know what's going on with the recording? Are you going to get two separate recordings now, or?
Yeah, your guess is as good as mine. This could be. I mean, if anyone hears our chat, then they did a good job. But I don't know how this is going to come out, Bronze. No,
you're going to have a bit of work on your hands, I think, after this.
The first one was 39 minutes. Oh, actually, I don't think that. Oh, interesting. I don't think that first one's there anymore. Oh, yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Okay,
39 minutes. I'll see what happens when I download them later.
All right, fingers crossed. You have to do.
And I'm hoping that because you came in after me and Viv, I'm hoping I don't have to match your voice back up to ours. I'm hoping that and I think the bot is quite good. I think he'll put you into the right position that you need to be.
Yeah, I should hope so. Yeah. I would say Craig is most definitely binary, being a computer-generated bot. That is binary. Zeros and ones.
Literally ones and zeros. Absolutely.
Yeah, so where were we before we were so rudely interrupted?
Well, yeah, I think all three of us were worried that what we were talking about was what got us chucked off, but I don't think it was that at all. I think the program we're using is having problems. We were talking about the BBC.
That's right. Yeah.
It's
aha.
We will see if I can splice this into the other stuff we've been talking about. The fact that you said you can't see it last time, I'm wondering if there is just an ongoing problem with it, but we'll soon find out anyway. Or I say soon. I'm busy tomorrow, so it won't be till tomorrow evening now. But anyway,
no worries, mate. But thing is, it does seem to be a problem greater than us,
which is difficult because we are pretty great.
Hey. Well, we must be all right.
Actually, I was going to say, just before we started chatting, there's a couple of little newsy channels I go to get a quick look at what's going on in the world, and I don't know if it's been in the news yet. The Blackheath funfair youth clash with the police. Basically, it looks like there's a funfair up there, and there's a problem, and loads of police have turned up, and there's a stabbing, and there's lots of problems. But I was going to say, well, first of all, had either of you heard of that story?
No.
And the thing I was going to say about it is it was up on there. I'll link it so you can see it. And what shocked me is that they call it a fun fair and a family event. I cannot see any parents, any families. And I was going to say again, the change of the modern England, where I remember being a child and going to a fun fair, and it was a fun event, and you had to. In fact, I can remember my brother being so young that he was on reins. Do you remember when you had kids on reins?
Oh, yeah.
In fact, today it'd be.
You still get them.
I was going to say they'd probably be banned for being wrong, but anyway, because I'm sure children did go missing from fun fairs, but on the whole, fun fairs were a fun family thing. I remember going with my grandparents as a small child, so even out with the grandparents. But I was looking at this clash, and there's about 100 police officers, and there must be a good 5, 6, 700 kids, and they're all sort of 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, up to 25 years old. That's not a fun fair anymore. It's just knives and kids.
Yeah, I've got it. I've got the story here. Yeah, it's not been reported widely. We got local news shopper, London Evening Standard, another news shopper, My London. So this is developing. It does say 19 hours ago though. So why has 2 days ago?
Well, it sounds like I'm going to surmise that a small group of youths turned up to cause trouble. They turned up with machetes, and it looks like one young let's just say a youngster has been hurt with the knife. I don't know to what extent. That's why I've fumbled my words there. Looks like it was a group of guys that went there to start a trouble, and that's what happened. It started a massive problem, and
probably just youth gangs, but we should console ourselves with the fact that no ninja swords are involved, because they have no.
Yes, that's important.
So that's
very important. But
let's not blow this out of proportion here, lads.
I think possibly potato peelers were involved, but
yeah, some nail clippers maybe as well.
Nail clippers. Actually, this is.
But it goes back to that lack of family and lack of morals and just a family cohesion day out in an English. When
I was a kid, I used to go to fun fairs with my mates when I was, I don't know how old I was, 10, 11, 12. I never really went with the family,
Okay, yeah.
I just went with my mates, but it was still safe enough. Or you just went there with a bit of money in your pocket, and you just went on a few rides and had a bit of a laugh, and it was fine. So this really doesn't surprise me in this day and age. That this sort of thing is a magnet, a fun fair, one of these kind of fun fair type things. It's just going to be a magnet for this now. It's so obvious.
Yeah, I know. It's so bloody awful, man.
It's that breakdown of social cohesion on every single level.
Yeah.
Viv was saying about some of the conversations he has, in his workplace, and you just understand that everyone is so on the edge with everything that's going on at the moment. And Even to the point that they're having to check, are you an AI bot? How can you prove you're not AI? And
I know.
because people are just frightened of all this stuff now.
What I find very interesting about this, and thank you for notifying this about this, 40, is that this is only reported on local news now, but actually it seems quite serious. I mean, the police have brought in a section 60, which is essentially you can stop and search anyone. Without needing to have sort of reasonable grounds or suspicions, right? That's section 6. That's section 60. That's quite serious, man.
Well, like I said, there was a good. I'm going to guesstimate that there was about 100 coppers there, so it was a big enough event that a lot of people had to be called. And when I saw the amount of people running out of the fair, it was a good couple of hundred.
What were these kids? What do these kids look like? Black kids, white kids, Asian kids, whatever. I don't even want to go there because kids are kids. But
I doubt very many of them are from stable families. They're probably, a lot of them are single parents. A lot of them are just wayward, feral youths. No, they have no kind of proper role models in their lives, I would suggest.
The sad thing is, I know we hate to bring it up, and it is a bad thing, but it's the truth. Is that unfortunately the demographics in all of the pictures and video shorts that I've seen are of a particular demographic, and it's not what you would call English.
What is the demographic? Dark skin, black people. What was this?
Black people, but a lot of headscarves and a lot of face scarves. It's that kind of new English
look.
Youth.
Yeah. The youths, the mandem. Yeah. Oh, but come on. Oh man.
This is also the area. This is Blackheath, which is in southeast London.
Yeah.
Blackheath is a very nice area. It's a very affluent, very, very middle class area. It's really nice actually. It's just a stone's throw from Greenwich.
Right.
But I would say just down the road you've got Deptford, which is not at all.
Yeah. Yeah, you say that. Yeah. Oh God, I know Deptford. I know London well. I lived there 30 years despite being a Suffolk boy. But oh man, this is so sad.
I think everything is to be English, and it's very frightening. It's very not frightening. It's very. It's just very wrong. It's very sad. Yeah, like you said, it's very very sad.
Well, what I'm reading from the Standard, it says that there's no reports of any injuries to members of the public. So maybe they just kind of just juked each other up and left the public alone. I don't know, but
yeah. But the thing is, they are the public.
Yeah. Well,
oh man, come on, pull yourself together.
I hate to be that one as well, but also it's easy to create a problem when there wasn't a problem. If I'm the chief of police and I just send 100 police officers and I say to them, run in there, act like something's going on. As soon as everyone runs, that's it. We've already kind of made the problem ourselves.
There is that as well.
I don't know how much of that goes on, that they're trying to cause unrest. They're trying to cause a civil war.
Yeah. What I said earlier is I don't care if this crowd are black, white, brown, whatever. Who cares about? I don't care about this shit. Apparently it's important, but it's not important to me. People should behave decently.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I care about. Not interested in demographics so much. But although that's important as well, you know.
Yeah,
it's kind of been forced upon us to. Yeah,
I don't think you can kind of judge this thing on race at all.
No.
All of these types of people, I see quite a lot of them around my way, and they're just a real mixture.
I know. I have lived in London. I don't want to point the finger at one particular group.
Yeah.
But I'm just wondering what this may have, what has caused this incident.
Just gangs, kids, gangs, feral youths. That's all. Rivalries, teenage rivalries. That's what it is. It's rife in London now. You can avoid it for the main part. Just not get yourself involved in it. But cases like this, sometimes it becomes, you can't help but to get involved in it. You just be the wrong place at the wrong time.
I know.
Yeah. We've got to a situation because women were given the right to be able to throw a marriage away for no reason, and so by the time 80s, 90s, I suppose, in the late 80s, the 90s, people started to get divorced for, my husband farts smell bad, so I want to divorce him, and it became a right, and women then got more power from this, but what they failed to, and I am talking from personal point of view, I know that, but you've got all these children that grew up in broken homes. Well, what do you think that they're going to see of the world when they haven't had a stable relationship, and mum's remarried someone else, and that someone else doesn't care about that child? And a lot of the children go into care, but we've got we've got 2 generations of broken children that we forgot to keep a social cohesion, a family cohesion, a school cohesion. We've said this before. You go down the street and all the mums are just looking at their phones. They're not even concentrating on the kids they've just picked up from school, and they're not even interacting with them. There's no why is the sky blue, mummy? Because they're all, in fact, the children are locked into their phones as well. And we're 40, 50 years of doing this, we're just starting to see the reality of all these broken homes, these broken promises, this idea that we didn't have to give there was no personal, what's the word? No one cared anymore. What am I saying? Personal,
responsibility.
Cheers. No personal responsibility. It was all someone else's fault, and the government will sort it out. And yeah,
I would say, it seems like, I know for a fact that social services have a big part to play, because it was structured in such a way. I don't know how it is these days, but I'm going back to the 90s now, that girls would get pregnant because they knew then they would be able to get themselves a flat.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think
so. Girls were doing that.
Many of us heard that.
They were getting pregnant not because they wanted to have a kid or they were with a guy. They weren't with the guy. They would just get pregnant and then they go, "Oh, I've got a kid. Can I have a flat?" And they'd get a flat. Yeah. And so it was like just completely arse about face, the whole way of thinking about it. But going back to when getting divorced became more socially acceptable, like you said, 4D, maybe whenever it was back in the 80s, it started to become that way. But what it effectively did was it gave people an easy way out, rather than saying, no, look, you got to put the work into your marriage and you got to make it work. You got to put the effort in.
That's right.
You just gave them I don't have to do that because it's okay. I can just get a divorce now.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's good. It's good if you're being abused in a relationship. Yeah, I get that. But if you've got bored with your partner, then hang on. Whoa, why not work at that relationship? I mean, there are a lot of bastard men around. There are a lot of bastard women around. Right? I mean, horrible. In that sense, what I mean by horrible people.
Yeah.
I'm not denying that. But at the same time, I don't know.
There must have been an awful lot of, I would say, I don't know what the figures are, obviously, or were. There must have been an awful lot of women in kind of abusive marriages, and there was nothing they could do about it. So
that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But it comes back. It's that other story where, you can't stop good people, or you shouldn't stop good people. There will always be twats. There will always be the man that beats his wife, just as much as there'll always be the woman that torments her husband. But they're not the norm, and that's not what we should be basing on our rules and regulations on. We should base it on the norm, and the norm is that we're grown up to realise, grown up enough to know that you should work at it and you should push at it, especially if you've got children. There's a lifelong commitment to that, and blah blah blah, this, that, and the other. But
I know, man.
Even in the situation of women being in like abusive relationships, it's that's something for the law to deal with. There are things in place for that to be dealt with. But I guess a lot of people in those situations just didn't want to talk about it as well, which doesn't help. So,
no, exactly. There's social stigma, etc., etc. We know all this, and we know how bloody awful it can be.
But you see, again, I don't know how much of that is true and how much we've been told it is. Obviously, we all know that there was battered women and battered men and all of that. I'm not denying any of that happened, but back in the day, again, when you had more social cohesion, you could guarantee that the women in the road would get together and, have you seen Jane? Jane's right. Yeah, right. And the women would come together. And I don't think it was that easy for guys to hide their battered wives. And certainly in today's world, I don't think you'd be able to. Obviously, we still hear these horror stories. So again, I'm not trying to say it doesn't happen. I know it happens, but it would be certainly minimalised in this if we had more social cohesion. If everyone in the street knew each other, and if you suddenly see Jane with dark glasses on and she's acting differently, then there's probably something going wrong. And
there's no doubt. There's no doubt about that. And there's no doubt that the glue that held society together has become unstuck.
Yeah, well, it's if as Bronze was saying earlier, it got to the stage where women were getting pregnant just to get a flat because times were so hard, and that was an easy way to get a flat. And why wouldn't you do that if that was on offer? But it meant that men had no value, whereas before that there was a value in a man. And I'm not trying to turn this misogynistic or what's the other word? Misogynistic.
Yeah.
But certainly men were taken out of the equation. Our strength is in looking after the little ones and the women and the frail and doing the things we do. But when we had no value, then you've got a crisis of young men killing themselves, not raping women, because then the knock-on effect is they have no love for women.
They have no love for themselves. They have no value in society.
Yes, and the knock-on effect of that is you get a lot of testosterone-filled men filled with alcohol that smash the place up, whereas women are great calmers.
They most certainly are. Yeah. Men and women need each other. We're complementary.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree.
Oh, man, it's so sad. It's so sad. It's so sad.
It's wondering how long it will take. Well, number one, if we can get to a point where we can get this back, but number two, how long it takes to rebuild that sort of whatever it means to be English, that stiff upper lip, that garden and roses and some. Obviously, we're not going to go into that, but
this sounds. I mean, I love it, but it sounds too dreamy now.
Yes.
I don't think we'll ever get back to that. We might get back to some semblance of sensibility, but.
And decency.
Decency. That's all we need, really. Just decency and common sense. some kind of loyalty to the country you're living in. Not some kind, but a lot of loyalty and patriotism. We need some of that back.
I was talking to one of my followers, a really great writer and good Irish. She's American, but she was making this point really, not kind of in an oblique way. I guess she was making this point. We were talking about men invading women's spaces. Now, I don't know about YouTube, but I have no interest in going into women's spaces.
No. No, less than no interest.
Yeah. So how come it's okay for someone who puts a dress on to walk into women's spaces with a potential with do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's not okay though, is it? It's just a perversion. They're just trying to normalize a perversion, and that's what it is. It's a perversion.
Yeah, I mean, I have mentioned autogynephilia. I hope that doesn't get this stopped, but autogynephilia is a paraphilia. A paraphilia is a sexual perversion, and men who it's basically men who are turned on by the idea that they are women. Yeah, I know.
And that is,
and it's diluting everything else. Even this idea of throwing a community of gay men, lesbian women, with trans people, with cross dressers, with furries, with every manner of sexual
difference and interest, and
interest.
They don't belong together. This is why gay men are leaving the whole gay rights movement. There are certain gay men who are leaving the gay rights movement. They're saying, well,
it's just been taken over. It is now a corrupted organization, a corrupted movement. It's been captured. It's been captured by the same people who are doing all of the other terrible stuff.
All the other capturing. Yes, of course, for their own interests.
Yeah, by the same people who are stoking racial tension when there isn't really any, and they've got hold of the gender thing. Everything, every fault line in society, they can just stick their knife in and aggravate it. They're doing it.
Yeah.
It's another one of those where gay people are not bad people. Lesbians are not bad people. Trans people are not bad people. People are bad people. You will get gays that are bad. You will get lesbians. You will get straight people. You get black people. You get white people. It's got nothing to do with any sexual color of skin until you get to the devious, really, really sexually devious things. Then that is evil. But most of it is just people being people. We are crazy, weird, stupid people. But you do have to know how to find the arseholes. And I suppose the reason I'm quickly getting that in is because, as both of you know, I've got a friend who's trans, and I love her dearly. She's a lovely person. I've got no issues with her, and it's very hard. And I think Bronze has said this to me before, that we have these conversations, but we kind of want people to know that we're not against them, and none of, I know you both aren't against anyone. It's what the powers to be have done to it all. They've deliberately thrown it into our face. They've deliberately made it perverse. They've deliberately added things into it that aren't right. Maps. There should be no talk of that. That's not even I can understand people that want foot fetishes, boob fetishes. I can understand balloon fetishes, car fetish. I don't care what your fetish is. I don't know why I said car. I don't know about that one, but
no, you're right though. There are people who have car fetishes. I remember,
but when you're disturbing children, then that's some. We've also got to understand the difference between us three as adults. We can have a grown-up conversation about sex, have a laugh about it, but we're old enough and grown up enough to understand the complications of sex and what it means and blah blah blah. We should not be interfering with any fucking stop swearing. There's no interference with children that aren't in a sexual capacity. Zero.
Children are not sexual beings.
We don't give them cigarettes. We don't give them, we don't do we don't give them a driving license, and you should not be playing anything sexual with children. It's not right. It's not part of the equation.
All of this is the controlled demolition of society, I think, because like I said, for any group of people has bad apples. It's just a human thing. You're going to get some bad ones. But what seems to be happening now is these assholes are not only being allowed to be assholes, but they're being encouraged to be assholes.
Yes.
That's part of the problem. And everybody else is being kind of gaslit into supporting and celebrating it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's insidious.
Yeah, you've got these sort of communities of people that, and I wouldn't be surprised that, there's lots of them that sort of went along with the whole LGBTQ thing at the beginning, and then sort of 5 years down the line, suddenly we're like, what are we involved in here? It sounded good at the beginning, didn't really put much thought and effort into it. And it's as you say, it's the agendas that are thrown in. It's the actual dark perversions that they've inserted into it. And it's, my friend and many other trans and gay and lesbian people out there are lovely people. They don't want to disturb. And in fact, as I've said many times, if someone truly is trapped, thinks they're trapped in the wrong body, and truly has what we call transgenderism, they are not outwardly going to think that my friend would be in some sort of pride fair, scantily dressed, shaking up, is a ridiculous concept. The fact is, she hates herself. She hates her body. She has a real problem with fitting in with communities and social structures. So the concept of gay pride and that is in itself ridiculous as well. That's not what people want to do.
No, bless your friend. Bless her.
Yeah, I mean, with regards to that, we have 1/12 of the year now, every year, dedicated to Pride. Every month we have a month of it. Okay, there's nothing you can do about that if you don't want to, if you're against it. I think the forces who are truly behind this, who are instigating all of this, I would say you can bet your bottom dollar they don't give a damn about any of these people. They don't give a damn about gay rights, trans rights, or that's not an issue to them. That's not their, that's not their modus operandi. They just see this as a tool they can use to further their wicked ways.
It's been weaponized. It's been weaponized. And I just wish gay people would realize this. You
wish who? Sorry,
gay people.
I would realise this. Yeah.
I think a lot of gay people are beginning to realise this, especially lesbians who are being shut out of hard-won women's spaces. I mean, none of us are going to want to wander into a woman's changing room. Bloody hell, no way. Some people do, and that's okay. Apparently, is it? Is it really? I don't think so. But there you go.
Yeah, I mean, it's supposedly called the Great Awakening, and you'd like to hope that that's touching everybody in one way or another.
I'm sure it is. Of course, it is. I'm sure it is. Oh, something's just popped up. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, I've just popped something up while we were talking, because it was another thing I saw today, and it was a very, again, very interesting. It was someone looking at FAT influencers, and they've realised that some of the biggest of these influencers are all dying by the age of 36, I think it is, and obviously they're dying of problems that are related to being obese. But also they were saying in that thing that I just linked, that there's the companies that are linked to these things. So for instance, the same company that make Dove soap and weight loss tablets also own McDonald's and something that would be anti-soap. But it was this idea that these companies are making something to get you ill so that they can make something to make you better, and it's the same company making the same money on that product. And then you've got these, and we were talking about the trans thing there, and that's why I looked at that, was because they've persuaded people that being overweight is sexy, and to not listen to fat shaming, and that's a bad thing. Of course it's not a bad thing, because being overweight is very, very bad for you. It's very bad for your health. But they've persuaded people to such an extent that they're getting so big, they're becoming influencers, and then they're dead of a heart attack by 36, and no one's sort of, or sorry, that's the point of that video. People are starting to realize, hang on, we've been sold a lie here. It's not good to be overweight.
Yeah, but that's that is just so obvious, though. You know, that's not something you have to explain to somebody. I don't think.
Well, yeah, but you're not looking. See, again, it is obvious if you're not suffering with depression for being overweight. So if you're very, very depressed and you are suffering with weight, and then someone tells you, "Oh, don't worry, it's beautiful to be overweight," you know, don't let people. Then in your darkness, because we love to be brought up. We like to be, if we're depressed, if someone makes us feel better, then obviously that's going to be great to us, and the serotonin comes out of our body. So all it is it's they've managed to give them serotonin to eat more, and rather than sort of say, oh, it's obvious, and I'm not putting it, I'm just sort of saying it's of course it's obvious to a lot of us, but it's the worrying for people that aren't fully firing on all cylinders. And I don't know how to say that in the right way. I just mean that some people are influenced by that, and it's not their fault.
You know, I understand that, but the other point to me is, if you are that size, and maybe some of them might be so big they can't even bend over and tie their own shoelaces, but even just going up, you know, having trouble going up a small flight of stairs, or just getting breathless at doing the most simple things. I understand the psychology is deep, and you know, they may have mental issues. So I do understand that, but just being in that state, and
I know.
Thinking, I can't even walk up the stairs. In my 20s or whatever. I'm a young person. This is wrong. This is just not right.
See, another thing is the amount. I sound like I'm trying to defend everyone, and that's not what I'm trying to do here at all, by the way. But the other thing I was going to say is, like, this weight loss stuff. You know, a lot of it is designed to make you hungry. So you're not fully aware. It's almost like being mind controlled, because you're not aware that they've broken into your psychology and persuaded your brain that you're hungry. So even though you're paying the money for the weight loss stuff, and you're doing the job, and you might have really got to the point where you're fed up with being overweight, and you've reached out to this great company. Why would you think they're going to make you even bigger? And it's just another one of those things where you don't go to a diet place, because that's not how they make money. They make money by keeping you fat so you keep needing them.
Yeah, of course.
But how can you? It's such a minefield to try and go through all that if you're already depressed about yourself.
It's the new medical model. You know, they're not interested in curing you. They're interested in you getting onto basically being a consumer of their products that they're pushing.
Yeah, and you know what? We should not be happy with being labelled as consumers.
No,
that really degrade us. We're playing into their.
I know, but I'm using that in the sense that that's how they see us. They see us as cattle in the fields now. Yeah, I'm afraid.
This does tie in to kind of a thought I had with regards. Look at seeing what's happening over in the USA with all of the protests and all the real lunatics just coming out of the woodwork in opposition to what's being done over there. and it really it sort of jolted me in a way, and reminded me of just how deep the brainwashing is across society now. People are just gone. They really are. A lot of people are. It just seems. What? I just do not understand how they can live in a world which is just completely irrational. Their thought process. There just seems to be no rational thought process at all.
Because humans are not rational. We're told we're rational beings, and we are to an extent. I do want to point out that this is tied in with transhumanism. It's a religion. It's a cult. Now, this is very, very, very dangerous when this turns into a cult. This is taking aspects from Christianity, essentially the idea of original sin, and put it onto something secular. And it's very, very, very dangerous indeed. Humans, according to transhuman advocates, humans are flawed, but we can be made better. We can be made better by medical procedures, by social, certain social aspects, such as, critical race theory and the ideas of trans. That there are more than two. Essentially, the human sexuality isn't binary. I can sort of get that. There are people who slip through the. How can you say, the cracks in the pavement? Of course, I understand that. Your friend 4D. Of course, I know trans people as well. I certainly do. And they are troubled. They are worried, and we should support them completely on that aspect. But they are also being used and weaponized, and they really. I just hope they understand that they're being weaponized. They're being used.
Yes, I mean the amount of how should we say, information out there, and how much it's put into society's consciousness is completely at odds with the percentage of the population, because we're talking about a really tiny percentage of the population,
very tiny, very tiny.
And it's such a major issue. We're all being told this affects you. You have to have an opinion on this. You must support it. It's a wonderful thing. Get on, and it's infiltrating everywhere into the institutions. It's at every level of society. It has a major presence now.
There is much more than this about being a so-called kind to people.
Yeah, it's not about that at all. It's not about that at all.
No,
like
it isn't. You're absolutely right, and I'm all for being kind to people. No, there's something weird agenda going on here. I mean, for a trans person to go through the full medical procedure, they're going to go through this throughout their life.
And they may never actually get to be what they want to be either.
They may never not, but that's beside the point, in the sense that's a continuous income stream for medical professionals, and that's the most important thing, in a sense, apart from the transhuman aspect, the fallen angel idea that we're fallen beings. And we need to be corrected.
Transhumanism is they're just trying to kill God. Basically, that's what they're trying to do. Trying to eradicate.
I actually think they're trying to replace God. With science, with not even science, with scientism. Science is very clear. You apply the scientific method. There are 5, sometimes 6 stages. There are certain stages within the scientific method. This is not being followed. This is not scientific, despite the protestations of the people who follow the god of scientism. Not science, but scientism. but it ties in with so many horrible, awful things. You know,
it's like even they tell us that the sad thing about news is that it has to be bad news because bad news sells and good news doesn't sell.
of course.
And they've even persuaded us that that's true, and that's not true. Back in the day, everyone loves a story with a hero, with a love story, a good ending, an underdog that makes good. So this lie that we like bad news is an agenda just because from a NLP point of view, if you keep on telling people bad stuff, they're just going to be bad.
Yeah, of course. It's creating a problem, creating a reaction, and then supplying a solution. I know very well there was a horrific murder. Oh man, it was so upsetting. This old fella, 80 years old.
Aren't we having a lot of fun tonight, boys?
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
Sorry, Viv. I didn't mean to.
I know you're right.
No, I'm glad you did because I don't want to hear about a brutal thingy. But
yeah, I mean,
imagine if the news was good. Sorry, go on.
I was just going to say, no, we've been chatting about some pretty grim stuff, so I kind of thought.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And it leads into what I was going to say is, imagine if the news every single day was like the top news was, whichever was the greatest story of the day. So man saves cat from tree, and next day it was man saves wife by giving birth to his own child. Like if every day it was happy news, people would aspire to be happy and be good. But unfortunately, for 40, 50, 60, 70 years, the news has sold us stories of death, murder, rape, all of the horrible things. And now everyone wants to do that because that's all they ever hear.
Yeah, it becomes normalised. It's propaganda and it's become normalised.
Yes.
And we were falling into that trap ourselves and doing nothing but bad stuff. And actually, now that you've said that, I looked at the time and I thought, damn, we've gone way over our time, although we've been cut off and things might not have gone right. I don't know how much of this recording I'm going to actually have, but
I think this is a very, very important conversation, and it's not. You don't hear people saying this much.
Which side of it?
The side of it that the news is intended, well, first of all, to bring you down, but secondly, disturbingly, that it encourages the awful behaviour that we've been talking about.
And half of it is full of just complete posh, like mind drivel about celebrities and TV shows and just all manner of just completely ridiculous, useless things as well.
I have no idea who half these people are. I don't have a telly. So I don't know, mate. I have no idea who these people are. What's occurring on Love Island? Sorry, I just don't know these people.
There's one person which doesn't get into the news anymore, which I think is a real shame.
Go on.
And that's Sir Norman Wisdom.
Norman Wisdom.
I haven't seen any news articles about Norman Wisdom for years.
Yeah. And I found out today that Norman Wisdom grew up, or certainly a part of his growing up was spent not a stone's throw from where I live right now. And so, again, considering we put him on as our mascot, I found out today that, yes, he, in possibly one of his foster homes, he ended up here in this place that I live that I'm not going to mention on the live stream thing.
Yeah.
Sorry, Ford, is that Windsor Castle? Oh, sorry.
That's it. Yeah, just down from Windsor Castle. And yeah, the guy was chatting to me. He said, "Oh yeah, my granddad remembers him. He had to call the police on him because he was looking at women too much, shall we say?"
Yeah. I know.
But of course, he would have had a very bad upbringing because his dad was so horrible to him, and he ended up getting chucked out and obviously he went in and out of several care homes. So I can imagine he was a bit of a wayward lad, shall we say. But yeah, so part of his life was just down here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Small world, eh?
If
Yeah,
if
Joe.
Norm
Yeah.
if Norman was alive now, he would be forced to go on some sort of nonsense like "I'm a celebrity, get me out of here,"
Oh, yeah, yeah.
and it's really sad. The real culture has gone underground. That's fine. That's fine.
And was Lee Evans the modern day Norman? Was
Yeah, sort of. Yeah,
he seemed to take on his kind of his ways, didn't he?
yeah, sort of. Yeah, definitely, definitely. I mean, certainly with the physical comedy, pratfalls, tripping over, facial expressions. Yeah, yeah, yeah. What's happened to Lee Evans now? Is he still going? He made some really interesting films, actually.
I've no idea. I was never a fan of him. I didn't really find him funny. So
No.
Oh, you're kidding.
no. I got a little story for you. The place I used to work, they had a Christmas party, a staff party. This is before Lee Evans made it, and they hired a comic, and it was Lee Evans. And I wasn't there. Okay, so this is just secondhand information. Apparently, they within about 3 minutes, they just booed him off. He was so bad.
Yeah,
They just told him to sling his hook and get out of there.
yeah. I get that. Yeah, yeah. But then again, when comedy is trammeled, rather, when comedy is restricted within certain constraints, it ceases to be comedy. You know,
Yeah, when is comedy not comedy?
the gesture that where when it's politics, that's when the jester next to the king jokes about the king, takes the piss out of the king, and the king laughs. It doesn't happen anymore. You try taking the piss out of the state, of the bureaucracy, of the what we could call the deep state, which is essentially the civil service. You'll get in trouble now.
Yeah,
You know?
there was a story. I think was it in where was it? It was in another country, but it might have been Germany, but it might have been Australia. I think it might be Germany, where this woman. There's a picture of this MP. I can't remember any names, but and she was holding a placard with something written on it. You know, like those memes when they just put they change the writing on what they're holding up, right?
Sure, yeah.
And this woman just created a meme saying like I hate, or put this woman holding up this placard saying I hate freedom of speech or something like that, and she got put in prison for it.
Oh,
yeah, that was in Germany. Yeah, it was in Germany.
well, and that's satire, basically, isn't it? That's comedy. I hate freedom of speech. I mean, that's pretty good, actually.
Yeah,
because you're exercising freedom of speech by saying you hate freedom of speech.
Well, no, it was a picture of a politician.
Right. Okay.
And the person who made the meme was ridiculing the politician for not being obviously having no regard for freedom of speech.
Right.
And so
right.
meme with her holding up a placard saying I am against freedom of speech as a kind of to make a statement. So she embarrassed her and she got locked up.
Yeah. There we go.
Mm.
We're heading to a very dark authoritarian, nay, totalitarian system.
Oh yeah, but it's so obvious now, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
So obvious.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
What will we do about this? Do you want? Okay, we've gone over time. Do you want a dad joke? Because I haven't got one.
That's a good dad joke.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'll fill in for you, Viv. Did you know to start a zoo, you need at least 2 pandas, a grizzly, and 3 polars? Because that's the bare minimum.
Hey, I like it. I love it. Actually, I'm gonna tell a joke, and I have a friend called Hani. She lives basically in a compound in Spain. She lived with her partner was English, And Honey is great. She's mental but brilliant, hilarious. But when I first met them, Richard, her partner, who's now dead, came up to me and he said, and this is an old joke. This is an old joke. He said, please don't talk to Honey about the Second World War, will you? Please don't. And I went, I thought, yeah, oh, okay. He said, because her dad died in a concentration camp. And I thought, oh dear. I'm so sorry. And he said, yeah, he was drunk in his watchtower and he fell out and died.
I don't know if I should laugh at that or not, to be honest with you.
Oh.
And all I was going to say is, have you heard about the new restaurant on the moon? Great food, no atmosphere.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry about that joke. That comes from Bernard Manning, actually. So, not surprisingly.
Oh, right. Okay, yeah.
Do you know what? I thought I recognised that joke. Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard that before. I thought you'd said that before, Viv. That's.
But yeah. I have to say that joke because in humour, different rules apply. You can say outrageous things. You used to be able to, and people would sort of, that's part of the whole thing of humour, is to transgress boundaries. It doesn't. It's not to be taken literally. It's pointing out human things, pointing out dark things, maybe. And
really, I come from an environment where the dark sense of humour is a survival mechanism. So I've got, I have no issue with it. It's, in fact, that I was just adding to the joke by saying I don't know if I can laugh at it or not.
Yeah, exactly. Because I mean, sometimes that joke for me is a bit of a, it's a bit of a bellwether. If you laugh at it, if you don't take it literally, but the trouble is there are too many literalists around who take things literally, and they would say, oh, whoa. It's a bit like Ben Elton used to go on television in the 1980s and say, Margaret Thatcher, and everyone would laugh. But that's not funny,
Yeah.
I mean, whatever you think of Margaret Thatcher, just to name a politician is not necessarily funny. It's a bit like Donald Trump. A comedian comes on stage, says, Donald Trump, and everyone starts laughing. But that's meaningless.
And yet Donald Trump can say that Adam Schiff has got a pencil neck, and it makes me laugh so much.
Yeah, of course. We do need to laugh at our politicians, our so-called leaders, who do not command, should not command our respect. And I'm not talking necessarily about Donald Trump. I'm talking really about the pompous leaders in this country. People like the current party, who the red wing of the Uni Party, who don't seem to have a sense of humour.
Who just went on recess and said they're not going to look into the gangs thing, which, and in fact, I'm shocked we didn't talk about that, because that's the biggest thing that shocked me the other day. But I don't know what they're trying to achieve there. But
it shouldn't shock. It shouldn't shock you, because we know what the game is here.
Yes.
It's pathetic, but
it's obvious what they're trying to achieve. They're trying to achieve being implemented in the whole fucking thing, because they are. That's what it is. They're looking after their own.
But surely that just proves it. If you don't have an inquiry into something like this, doesn't this prove you're involved?
Yes, of course. You're involved in covering up something which is quite dark. Well, quite dark, extremely dark.
Well, what it will do.
So you're covering it up. You're covering it up. Of course.
What
of course.
It will,
and British, and I have to really say, people like Raja Mir and a lot of British, Pakistani, and Muslim people don't like this. They do not like this. I mean, would you like this if we don't like it when so-called white people are blamed for everything. So So yeah.
Well,
I want to hear, not only Marjamia, but loads of people saying, "Look, hang on, you're bringing shame to us."
Yeah, well, that's it. The onus is on them to make their voices heard.
And I think there are voices. There are voices, but
they don't. But they're. I'm sure they're not getting reported. This is the thing, because you never see about it. Rarely in the news. But what one thing this will do and has done is give strength to Rupert Lowe and his promise to open an independent inquiry into this, and he's crowdfunding it, and it's doing quite well.
Yeah. Well, we'll see how that goes.
Yeah,
but they'll do something to shut him down. It's really remarkable, this whole thing. It's really remarkable.
Yeah. Well, watch this space, and we'll comment on it as it happens. Hopefully.
Yep. Of course, without fear or favour.
Yes, without fear or favour. But I am going to say that I am going to disappear now, because without fear or favour, I've still got to use the loo. So I'm going to say good night.
Good night. Have all the best to you, all the best people, and love and blessings.
Yep. See ya.
Have a good one. Cheers.
Cheers.